Hello and welcome back to the channel. All of these Stranger Things Season 5 titles were just announced and I can't stop thinking about what this means for Season 5. Not only that, but they also confirmed two of our major questions we had about the release date and the first episode. I am so happy they're finally starting to tease Season 5. Usually by now we would have gotten a couple teases for the new season, but besides some Instagram photo dumps from the set, we've had nothing. It's like they've been giving us so many behind the scenes shots, but nothing else, so I'm really happy they're finally giving us our first official small tease. Because confirming the 8 last episode titles for the show was the very least we were expecting, so I'm happy they already revealed them. We're going to be breaking down each of these and seeing what they mean about the story for each episode and why one of them is blurred out. There's more Season 5 teases dropping soon hopefully, and we're going to be breaking them down to see what secret meanings they've hidden inside, so make sure you subscribe so you don't miss those. Now, starting with episode 1 that we've had for a while now, The Crawl, it starts with a flashback to Will's time in the Upside Down. They showed us the opening scene for this last year, and the first scene of the season is always important. It's usually always a random, out-of-context scene that is only a couple minutes long before the title card rolls, and then the actual first scene of the season starts, most likely where we left off at the end of Season 4 last time. But the opening scene is usually abandoned really fast, but it's super important in setting up the rest of the season, and eventually we revisit it. Season 1 was the end of the outbreak at Hawkins' lab for the first time, and it wasn't until the end of episode 6 that we revisit it, where Eleven touched that Demogorgon for the first time, and the first portal opened up. The opening scene of Season 2 introduced Callie, which was so random, and we don't revisit her until episode 7. Season 3's opening scene was the secret military in Russia trying to open their own portal to the Upside Down, super random, and we don't revisit the Russians until halfway through the season. And then Season 4's opening followed young Dr. Brenner at his house the morning of the massacre at Hawkins' lab, which was a terrifying open, and we had to wait 7 episodes before we got to revisit it, so it's safe to say that they're going to do the same thing with Season 5. The opening scene will most likely be Will in the Upside Down while he's singing Should I Stay or Should I Go?
Should I stay or should I go?
And if you remember, when he sings this, it's at the very end of Season 1, right after Eleven makes contact with him. 1 minute he's huddled up safely in Castle Byers singing that song, and the next time we see him, he's been abducted and tied down to the wall with tubes going into his mouth. Whatever this thing was that took him, maybe we'll get to see this scene to start Season 5, and it will start answering, or either starting to answer, one of the 2 biggest questions we have this season. Why or how is Will so connected to the Upside Down in Vecna, and why is the Upside Down stuck in time the day Will went missing? And honestly, they might answer both of these questions at the same time. Looking at the rest of the episode titles, we can really see how big of a role Will is going to play this season. The title itself, The Crawl, will most likely refer to the Upside Down slowly crawling into Hawkins, the spores, the monsters, and Vecna. But it could just the same refer to Will crawling to safety in Castle Byers in the flashback. Just keep in mind, once we make it past the opening scene, we might not revisit this until episode 4 or even 6, and you'll see why when we get there. But up next, episode 2 is the Vanishing of blank. Yup, that's right. Instead of baiting us with a fake title and changing it right before the episodes drop, they just blur the spoiler. Now, what's interesting is that a couple months back, 6 of these titles leaked and they were all correct. And the leak for this one was the Vanishing of blank Wheeler. More specifically with 5 question marks. Grain of salt because there was another spelling error in the leak, so it could just be an error as well, but maybe, just maybe, it's the vanishing of Holly Wheeler. It could be any of the Wheelers. Ted Wheeler might be the saddest to go missing.
Yeah, why not? Take us for all we're worth.
Okay.
Or even Mike. But Nancy also is 5 letters, as well as Karen, their mother. And while I'm sure they'll both play larger roles in Season 5, they completely recast the actress for Holly. When the character was younger, they had twins play her. This is totally common with a lot of younger characters, simply because legally you can only use a child actor for so long in a day, so if there's 2 identical ones, essentially you have twice the filming time. But now that the character is old enough to be a part of the main group and contribute, just like they did with Lucas's little sister Erica, they recast Holly to be played by Nell Fisher, who, for being the same age as the other twins, has a bit more of experience acting. This suggests that she'll contribute to the story more, but I had no idea she would play this big of a role. And what on earth could Vecna possibly want with her? I mean, we did see those shots of Vecna coming for Holly in the behind the scenes video. It looks like she's in her room when all the lights start flickering, Plus, Nancy had that future vision in season 4 Vecna showed her of the whole family dead. But what if she's more important than that? Important enough to have her own episode title that mirrors the first episode title of season 1 but with Will. I'm really curious to see how they use her character this season. Now, next up, episode 3 is the Turnbow Trap. This is one of the newer elements of the season. The Turnbow family owns the real estate and land developing company we've seen on this poster here that has vines all around it. There hasn't been a whole lot teased with this side of the story. It's totally possible that that one unexplained house shot from the behind the scenes video could be in their house, and it's rumored the new character, Derek, is part of the Turnbow family. Episode 4 is the Sorcerer. This is the halfway point in the season, and looking back at the last couple seasons with Dear Billy and the Sauna Test, Episode 4 usually is absolutely crazy. I wouldn't be surprised if this is the episode they explore Will's powers past his true sight abilities. Yes, he is Will the Wise, a wizard, but in D&D context, the wizard is generally the strongest magic type user, almost fitting 11, and while the sorcerer is still a magic user, they're not nearly as strong as wizards. This is almost more fitting for Will, because while I think there's a great chance we're going to see him use powers more than his true sight, I don't think he'll be anywhere near as strong as 11 is. And the only other magic user we know of that's still around is Callie, and that'd be absolutely crazy if they brought her back into the show for the final season and gave her her own full episode again, because we know how well that worked out last time. Now, episode 5 is called Shock Jock. This is a reference to the radio station or a specific radio host, maybe broadcasting something over the radio. I feel like this is the episode that will start to set up the first finale. If they're going to release the season in 2 parts just like season 4, that means we're going to get episodes 1 through 6 with the first finale at the end of episode 6, and then a couple weeks to a month later, we'll get the last 2 episodes, which will probably be another 4+ hours of the actual finale of the entire show. Because episode 6 is Escape from Camazotz. Now, while this is the name of a massive new D&D creature, I'm not entirely sold that's the Camazotz they're referencing. In Dungeons & Dragons lore, Camazotz is a terrifying man-like bat god who is the demon lord of bats and fire. This winged humanoid is associated with disease and plague and has a large influence over the underworld, and he can send bats out to do his bidding. All of this sounds very similar to the Cass theory. If you haven't heard of it yet, go watch this video as a refresher, but it's one of the most plausible ways, already rooted in D&D lore, that could bring Eddie back from the dead in season 5. I feel like it would be so out of left field if they actually end up going through with this and bringing him back to life in the Upside Down working for Vecna. I kinda hope he stays dead. It's such another big element and plotline to introduce this far into the show, there's no way it wouldn't feel rushed. Now, the other Camazotz reference was posted by the Stranger Things writers on Twitter almost a full year and a half ago. Yes, A Wrinkle in Time. This is a book from the 60s that's about a group of children that travel through space and time to save their father. The children learn that the universe is being threatened by a great evil that takes the form of a cloud and is engulfing stars. One of the planets that's been taken over is Camazotz. This is where their father is being kept prisoner. The younger brother tries to fight the evil force and isn't strong enough and becomes overpowered and possessed by the evil. It then uses them as a host to lead his other friends to it. They try fighting him and fail, and at the last second they transport away to another planet. The brother remains possessed on Camazotz, and the older sister realizes she has to travel back alone to save him. And funny enough, her power over the evil is quite literally her ability to love. And by concentrating all her love for her brother, she's able to save him from the dark evil. Now, this is so close to how we see season 5 playing out, it's unreal. With 11 being the strong sister and Will being the younger brother that gets possessed by Vecna, this title feels very much like it's using Camazotz to reference the Upside Down. I'm not sure why the need to change its nickname. Possibly a new metaphor is used on a new character or something, but it seems more likely there will be a close escape from the Upside Down than a man-bat. I mean, it could be a double meaning, referring to the Bat creature and the Upside Down, but with the episode being directed by Sean Levy and with it being the first finale of the season, it seems like there's a better chance that we'll be revisiting the opening scene of the season with Will and Castle Byers and covering that last moment before they rescued him where something takes him and connects him with the hive mind. I wouldn't be surprised if they go back and forth between current day and past flashbacks just like they did in season 4, because we also have a group in the Upside Down this season. We got behind the scenes footage of Nancy, Steve, Jonathan, and Dustin taking a car into the Upside Down through a portal at the McCorkle's farm. There's a giant radar dish strapped to the car, most likely to allow them to communicate with the radio tower while they're in the Upside Down. And while we don't know why they took the car into the Upside Down, escape from Camazotz could also refer to them making their escape back to Hawkins and flash back and forth between that and whatever Will's doing in his flashbacks. I am really excited for this episode. Now, moving on, setting up the final finale, episode 7 is called The Bridge, possibly referring to how 11 will get back into the Upside Down, or the final gateway between her and Vecna. I wouldn't be surprised if this entire episode is working all the way up to the start of the end battle, just like with season 4, and then the start of episode 8 for the next hour plus is the epilogue / post-fight wrap-up, because fittingly enough, the final episode of the show is called The Right Side Up. And if that isn't a poetic finish, I don't know what else is. The final episode of season 1 was literally the Upside Down, and now for the final episode of the entire show to be the opposite of that, basically is guaranteeing a happy ending. All will be set back to normal as best it can be, minus whoever dies, and the rest will live happily on, or move away from the trauma-filled town of Hawkins. It would be so cool, after all this time, to see the Upside Down just fall apart and destroy itself after the kids defeat Vecna once and for all, just putting the nail in the coffin that the Upside Down is gone for good and these characters will be safe moving forward. Because if it's not destroyed, or the portal stays open, or there's any sort of cliffhanger whatsoever, we're rioting in the streets. This is the end of the show, our last chance to make sure our favorite characters will be safe from the Upside Down and Vecna. I don't want an open-ended finale for the spin-offs. I'm really hoping it comes to a very definite ending. Now, after this, thankfully, they finally confirmed the year 2025 for the release date for Season 5. They've been quietly talking about hoping to release it next year, but it's really nice to see that they're on track enough to put it out there officially. And the other big thing is the time jump. It says Season 5 will pick up the fall of 1987. And with Season 4 ending in March of 1986, that's a year-and-a-half time jump, which is huge. Between Season 3 ending July of 85 and Season 4, there was only an 8-month time jump. But the reason why the Season 5 time jump is such a big deal is because we are halfway through the finale. It's like Avengers Endgame just finished. Season 4 was just part 1 of the Stranger Things finale, and then Season 5 will be the endgame, the part 2 of the finale. So a year-and-a-half time jump after the portal to hell just ripped the town apart is wild. I have no idea how the entire town is just going to act like this was just a normal earthquake and keep living like nothing's wrong. And also, why is Vecna just chilling for a year-and-a-half waiting for the show to pick back up? I'm really curious how they end up explaining everything, but I'm very happy they started giving us some finalized information. Subscribe if you enjoyed the video, and until the next one, I will see you in the Upside Down. Peace.